So DICE added this machine gun to the game that has incendiary rounds to shoot down airplanes. Look what it can do. First volley disabled both wings on that attack plane. Second volley disabled both wings and the engine of the second attack plane. We reload, we can completely resupply ourselves. The first plane is looping back around. He's still disabled. And I completely destroy the plane with the second volley there. Now granted, I didn't do 100% damage to him, but this weapon can completely disable both wings and engines in a single pass. An airplane doing a low dive bomb like that can be disabled in one volley from this gun and will not have the ability to actually pull out of the dive. Even this pilot flying as high up as possible is not protected from the power of this machine gun, or LMR, whatever you want to call it. At this extreme distance, my first volley disables both wings and his engines, possibly his tail as well. I get more wing damage to him there. He goes into a steep dive, is not able to pull out of the dive, and crashes. From that insane distance, this machine gun can take down an attack plane in 1 to 2 volleys, or put it in a state where it's going to be near impossible to recover from a dive. Now granted, I didn't get a lot of confirmed kills on airplanes using this machine gun, but I was able to force many pilots to bail out of their aircraft or disable a plane enough so that my friendly aircraft could easily beat them in a dogfight. It seems like the most table-turning weapon in the game right now when it comes to dealing with air superiority. Now, for an infantry player, this is potentially great news. If you hate dying to aircraft over and over again and you're tired of pilots dominating the sky and just ruining your day, this is the ultimate counter to that weapon. From a gameplay balance standpoint, this is basically a mobile anti-aircraft platform that any infantry player can take with them. Well, any support infantry player, but from a pilot's perspective, you have no idea to know who has this kind of weapon, where they might be at any given time. You're basically just a sitting duck for anyone with the Burton LMR. There's not a lot you can do to defend against this. And the only reason that right now it's not a huge epidemic is that most people don't understand how to unlock the Burton LMR machine gun, because the user interface for unlocks in this game is confusing and it doesn't tell you right away that there's a new machine gun to be unlocked. You actually have to go into your weapons section and figure out how to unlock the machine gun, which isn't too bad. You have to get a bunch of defensive kills, which you will naturally get anyway. So if you're standing on flags and getting kills like on Conquest or on Operations, you will start to progress towards unlocking this weapon. Now, in addition to incendiary rounds just dominating aircraft, they also do significant damage against lightly armored vehicles. So Jeeps driving by, if you have a few people with Burtons, you can absolutely tear up a Jeep or one of the lightly armored cars. Also, the behemoth airship takes huge amounts of damage to the Burton LMR. Now in this clip here, I think I'm actually the only one on my team using the Burton LMR against the airship, but you can see I'm doing 19 to 20 damage per volley. This is significant. I can damage the airship faster with the Burton LMR on incendiary rounds than if I was a support class standing on top of the airship dropping limpet charges. That's how much insane amounts of damage it does. I'm also getting lots of part damage here, where I'm able to actually disable the different modules on the airship, causing huge amounts of damage. I did get very close to actually getting the airship kill myself. I imagine lots of people are going to start getting airship kills with the Burton LMR. It's absolutely ridiculous how much damage this thing does to air vehicles. Honestly, it feels like this weapon was not properly tested before implementation. Now, it did come out in CTE, and I did mess around with it briefly in CTE, but the CTE servers were never populated enough for me to test this against air vehicles, or test it enough against air vehicles. And so mostly I was just trying it out against infantry. I've got a video on the Burton LMR, and it's predominantly just fighting other infantry. Now that we're in an actual game and I can use it against the behemoth and other aircraft, it is insane how much damage this weapon does and how it's going to completely change the infantry versus air dynamic forever. It's only a matter of time before more and more players start unlocking this weapon and start putting pilots at a massive disadvantage. I mean, it went from me wanting to avoid aircraft to me trying to lure aircraft in closer where I could really just tear up their wings and their maneuverability, causing many of them to crash or have to bail out. Again, not a lot of confirmed kills here, but if you're taking aircraft out of the sky and forcing pilots to bail out, does it really matter? Now, this could be seen as somewhat of a response to the strategic bomber problem for Battlefield 1, which is, as many of you have probably discovered by now, a bit of an issue where one giant bomber flies overhead, drops a payload of bombs, and kills 7, 8, 9, 10 players in one volley. This thing has been nerfed since it came out, but it's still very effective. A good fighter pilot can take out a strategic bomber relatively easily, but that is also reliant on the idea that you have a really good fighter pilot up in the air. If you don't, your team can be completely vulnerable and screwed over by the strategic bomber. Well, now with the Burton LMRs and their incendiary rounds, infantry can defend themselves against the bomber pretty damn effectively. The only problem is that they can now basically defend themselves against everything in the air insanely effectively. I think if half the supports on a team were running with this machine gun, air simply wouldn't be able to do anything against infantry anymore. I think this gun in its current state is a game-breaking mechanic. I'm surprised that DICE let it get into the game with this kind of power. As you can see, it's actually pretty damn effective against infantry with its very decent rate of fire. Again, comparable to, I would say, the bar, possibly a bit more spread, but definitely affected by the insane amount of muzzle flash, making it very hard to track your enemy targets. But as long as you get a good spot on them, you should be able to track them pretty effectively, and with that 830 round per minute rate of fire, you can drop people really fast. I was going toe-to-toe with some of the higher damaging SMGs from the assault class and winning with this weapon in close quarter combat. There aren't really any downsides to this weapon other than it's got a bit of an obstructed view with the dual magazine setup, and it's only got a 20 round magazine, so usually you can get one kill before you have to reload. So it's sort of a fire, reload, retreat approach, which is similar to what the BAR is. As you saw in that clip there, I was able to completely disable that fighter that was chasing down my friendly fighter there. I took out both wings and his tail, giving him no maneuverability, no ability to track down my teammate anymore. So my teammate was able to get away scot-free from one single volley. Just too much power for this machine gun. I know I've been arguing for better balance between infantry and air for a long time. I think DICE has come a long way with it, but they pushed the scales back in favor of air with the strategic bomber, or rather introducing an element that makes air versus infantry combat really unfun. The strategic bomber is not fun at all for the infantry classes, as it flies too high usually for infantry to deal with it, and you're almost completely reliant on air superiority to take it down. If this is the answer to that, it's an answer to the strategic bomber, certainly, but it upsets the balance of the rest of infantry versus air combat. It will come in handy on some maps where air is just absolutely dominating, but I have a suspicious feeling that air is never really going to be able to perform in a similar way once people start unlocking the Burton and understanding the power of it. DICE is going to have to reduce the effectiveness of this weapon unless their ultimate plan is to really just have all pilots get completely screwed over the second somebody picks up a Burton LMR with incendiary rounds, because at that point, I, as an infantry player, have the advantage. Any attack plane coming after me, I can disable its wings before it can even get an accurate shot on me. So even if an attack plane knows where I am, it's lining up an attack run, my range is superior. I can disable it, make it almost impossible for the attack plane to get an accurate shot off on me. And if it continues to pursue, I will certainly disable and destroy it. And then, of course, this is me using the Burton LMR in a pure infantry combat environment. And guess what? It's pretty darn good. This isn't a weapon that has nerfed its infantry effectiveness for its air effectiveness. Anyway, I'm all about introducing new weapons to the game and increasing variety and gameplay mechanics for Battlefield 1. But this gun here upsets basically the entire infantry versus air dynamic in a huge way, and the more time goes on and the more people unlock the Burton LMR and understand the power of incendiary rounds, you can bet that pilots are not going to be able to do anything in Battlefield 1 anymore. What do you guys think about this new weapon? Are you in favor of infantry getting a huge counter to air combat, or do you think DICE has gone too far? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing out.